our Family Feud this morning at 8 on Fox 14.
You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14.
Right now at 7, our very own Anthony Saviello gives us an inside look at the Pittsburgh Community Theater production of Biloxi Blues.
And KOAM Samantha Walker shares how an old mystery is influencing today's changes.
And we have got an absolutely gorgeous sunrise. Look at that. Great weather looking out there. Unfortunately, it's quite cold as well. We'll take a look at that forecast to get you out the door coming up.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. I'm Elise Noe.
And I'm Chris Warner. It's just after 7 a.m. on this Monday morning.
It
is
here. But
really,
that sunrise is gorgeous out there.
It is absolutely beautiful.
My gosh,
but
we don't deserve that for a Monday.
Given the weather and how cold it is and the fact that it's Monday, I think really for our morning show, all we have to do is remind you that it's Monday in the show. Done. And then you just go, oh yeah, that's right, it's Monday. You just go right back to bed.
There we go.
That's just my
You
suggestion.
heard it here first. It's Monday.
It is. Breaking news.
Breaking news.
Monday. We'll get live team coverage on this. But one of our very own doing something pretty special out there.
Absolutely. Well, the Pittsburgh Community Theater's production of Biloxi Blues hits the stage this Friday.
KOAM's Anthony Saviello is giving us a behind-the-scenes look into the rehearsals and how he, along with his fellow castmates, are preparing for this show.
2 down, 3 down, 4 down, 5 down, 6 down, 7.
It's still a play that is appropriate for our times.
Absolutely.
And it hits on a lot of subjects, a lot of things that we're still dealing with.
These men were really entering into a time in their lives of fear, and anger was all over the world, and he deals with that and he shows you how they overcame their fear.
I think it's funny. I enjoy it. I think there's plenty of jokes that are for the military community, but the general public will still understand them.
Is that your opinion? In my opinion, yes, Sergeant.
I really like the fact that he examines and is not afraid to address whatever it is in the room that needs to be addressed.
Would you get in your fight? I'll fight you.
Getting all the guys that never met each other into that brotherhood has been probably the best part about it. So getting to know everybody, hanging out with them after hours and stuff like that, getting comfortable with them, because on stage we're very close-knit.
The thing about doing a military show is you got to get a military haircut. Sit down, soldier.
It's hilarious, it's poignant, they'll laugh, they'll cry, they will be moved one way or another.
The Biloxi Blues will run March 22nd through March 24th.
And you can find a link to buy tickets for the show on our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. You know, there's a Don Henley song about our business, and one of the key lines is, I could have been an actor, but I wound up here. Anthony Saviello managed to do both.
Ladies and gentlemen.
He managed to be an actor, and he still wound up here.
Defying all odds. Anthony
That's
Saviello.
a Phil Collins song, actually. Boy, we are going back in time here. Now, that's a Pitbull song, but it's not called Back in... Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is, because it's from the 3rd minute. Anyway, let's talk about the future, shall we? We can talk about right now. We can talk about the future. We can talk about anything.
Talk about anything, apparently. Everything's a song.
Everything, every phrase there is a song. Let's take a look outside. This is our camera on top of the Cornell Complex, downtown Joplin. And as you can see, we have got mostly clear skies across the area. However, it is cold. So that beautiful sunrise comes with a price, and that price is the very cold temperatures. MoDOT camera, 20th and Range Line in Joplin, looking back to the north. A few more folks out there. What are you doing? I don't know if you folks at home heard that, but our very own Trevor Lewis is tearing apart our kitchen set. I guess he's in a constructive mode. All right, so we're looking good. Like I said, it just doesn't feel so good out there. 26 in Joplin, 27 in Pittsburgh, so temperatures have come down just a little bit. They haven't done a lot of moving at all this morning. Gusty northwest winds occasionally pushing 20 miles an hour, putting our wind chills into the low 20s out there, but our temperatures at least into the upper 20s, and we still have some low 30s down to the south. Jay is the warm spot right now at 33 degrees. As we go through today, it is going to be sunny. It's going to look great, just going to be a bit on the cold side. Low to mid 40s for our highs. And take a look. I mean, this is over a wide span of time, and these temperatures just barely move. They barely creep up out there with those gusty north winds. But there's some good news. Later tonight, those gusty winds are going to shift out of the southwest, and any kind of southerly breeze typically brings warmer weather, and that's exactly what's going to happen for us. We'll take a look at the warmer weather and some of our rain chances in the full forecast, and that will take place here in just a few more minutes. Elise?
All right, thanks, Chris. Well, Rude, a coffee house is getting into the season of spring with a spring-inspired painting class. Attendees were able to mingle with other artists while creating a new masterpiece to take home. The class included a canvas and step-by-step instruction.
I love to paint. I love having my paintings on the wall, and this is like so easy. She walks you through step by step. I've not had any experience, so she's been very good to us, and if I need help, she'll step in and help me, and if I don't, that's fine.
The event was $30 per painter. One winery in Orinoco is helping bring a little bit of Ireland to the 4 states this St. Patrick's Day. Keltoy Winery is an Irish winery that was throwing St. Patrick's Day parties this past weekend to celebrate the holiday. The event features festive decorations, Irish food, and live musicians playing traditional Irish music. Organizers of the event say it's a great way to be able to share Irish culture.
Well, Keltoy is an Irish winery, so it's got an Irish background, Irish theme, and so every year that means we celebrate St. Patrick's Day really big, and we have a 2-day celebration this year, today and tomorrow on the actual day, with everything that's green.
The St. Patrick's Day party continued yesterday at Keltoy Winery from 12 to 5 p.m. Well, some local forestaters had the opportunity to shop for some new jewelry at a pop-up shop in Galena. It included 3 different stations, a charm bar, clay earrings, and a stack bar. Officials say the event is a way to get a deep dive into different arts and talents.
Get out and support your local businesses. There's a ton of small businesses in the area, and any just opportunity you can get out to help support, it is greatly appreciated. And just, giving our time out and coming out and setting up is a way that we feel like we can give back and interact. So
the shop was held at Erickson & Co. Mercantile in Galena, Kansas. Nearly 100 years ago, an unknown baby was found abandoned in a bush in Joplin. KOAM Samantha Walker has more on how a century-old unsolved mystery is inspiring a current-day change.
Walking through the Murfreesburg district in Joplin, it's clear to see there's a lot of history. The historic Murfreesburg Preservation Group recently released a story that's 100 years old. They're calling it A Mystery in Murfreesburg.
I actually stumbled across it when I was looking through news clippings looking for other things, and I saw where somebody just abandoned a baby in the bushes at this house.
In July 1945, a healthy baby girl was found bundled up outside of the home of the prominent Potlizer family on South Sargent Avenue.
And, the things to take care of a baby were right next to her, and they're like, hello, whose baby is this?
There are numerous theories surrounding the parentage of the red-haired, blue-eyed baby, but they were never identified.
So we lean more towards maybe, except for just being a local, that maybe it was a soldier that had come through the USO and through Camp Crowder during World War II and fathered that child.
The true identity of the found baby has never been announced, but today she would be about 78 years old. According to Phillips, the mystery does point to the need for better options.
There's just a lot of instances where they want to be able to make sure that baby is safe, but nobody know where it came from.
Organizers are raising money to build a safe haven box in the Joplin Fire Station number 7. This would allow for infants 45 days or younger to be anonymously left with no prosecution should the baby have not faced neglect or abuse.
And that's kind of the whole key. That's why people did the doorstep thing for so long, because they didn't want to go to an orphanage. They didn't want to say, here, take my baby. They didn't want anybody to know who they were.
Reporting in Joplin, Samantha Walker, KOAM News.
Organizers are still raising money for Joplin's Safe Haven Box. You can find more information on how to donate on our website, KOAMnewsnow.com. And those are our top stories for this half hour. Up next, Lori Horton is showing us her recipe for zebra cakes. Lori Horton has been showing us her recipe for her version of zebra cakes. Now we've baked our vanilla cake, we've cut our shapes, and now tell me what the next steps are.
All right, so next steps, yeah, we didn't do anything different to the cake. I just want to reiterate, just, follow those directions on the box, whatever flavor you like. We cut out the hexagon shapes because we wanted to try and stick really traditional with the Little Debbies. So, they're a little bit more grown-up size, but you can make them smaller. So if these are for the kiddos, cut them into squares, whatever you want to do. Then what I did was, after I cut out even that thin cake, went ahead and sliced it in half. So I've got really super thin layers here. The filling that we made is simply a stick of butter, a cup of the marshmallow cream. And this is really what's going to keep it soft and fluffy and give it that flavor that you think of when you bite into those zebra cakes. We added to that a little bit of powdered sugar, some vanilla and almond, and then just heavy whipping cream until it's a really nice consistency.
And did you use that with a mixer, or
use
did you
that
just
with
use
a mixer?
with a hand?
Although today my mixer decided it would take Monday off, so thankfully we were able to mix this up by hand. But it's a good consistency. Kind of feels like frosting, just a good stiff. And then I've put it in a piping bag to make it a little bit easier because since I did do the shapes and these are so thin, it would really be difficult to try to kind of spread that in there without just absolutely destroying those skinny little layers. So I'm just going to take those and pipe a really nice thick layer. And you want it to be almost as thick as what the piece of cake is that you're putting it on. Because it's a good even, you gotta have that distribution, of filling to cake, right? And then we're just gonna put another layer on top of there and then coat that really nice and even. So you've got it all the way out to the edges. You don't want a lot of gap space. So if you have any that didn't quite get to the edge, I'm gonna put a little bit more over here.
So you want it to go to the edge?
Yeah.
Is that easier when you coat?
It's easier when you coat, and it's gonna give you a little bit smoother edge instead of it, having that little heavy piece of chocolate in there. Now, ideally, we would take this and let these freeze for about 30 minutes in between, because it's just going to make it a little bit easier for dipping. You can also take these and put them on a wire rack and then just pour the coating over the top. That is a little bit easier, but you get a little bit heavier layer. So in all honesty, the dipping is probably the most authentic because you don't want to overly thick layer of that coating on top.
Definitely want to make sure that you freeze it before you dip.
It just makes it a whole lot easier because that cake becomes a little bit more stable and it's just easier to handle. Now, when you get a smaller piece, if you do some smaller squares or something that way, you can even dip with just a fork, kind of like how you would do, maybe peanut butter pops or,
like
any kind of little
pop or something
cake
like
pops,
that.
anything that way that you would do. So once we have these all set and they are a little bit solid and frozen, we come back, we're going to dip those in a white coating. We're going to do a little bit extra to the coating to make it easier to work with, and then do that traditional zebra topping.
I'm excited. They look so good already.
It's so good.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll stick around for the next steps when we coat our cakes. We'll be right back.
Get lucky all March cha-ching long.
Your time matters. KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14. Simply more convenient.
All right, Lori, well, we left off by icing our cakes and sandwiching them together. Now tell me, what is the next step?
Okay, so the last thing we have to do, obviously, is to get that coating on top. And all we started with was some white chocolate candy melts.
Oh, okay, yes.
These are pretty easily, readily available. But once they're melted, we're gonna add a little bit of vegetable oil to them.
Okay.
You can also use just white vegetable shortening. You just need some oil in it to kind of thin that, just a little bit. And I've already got a little in there, that's just the last of it. So it's about a tablespoon or so per pound. So it depends on how many you're making, how much you'll add.
And I see you have this pot here. Can you do this on your stovetop or the microwave
Absolutely.
to melt these chips?
You could do this in a double boiler. You could do it in the microwave. You want to watch the power because when it comes to the candy melts, they're already cooked. So you don't want to burn them. And that full power on the microwave sometimes is a little too much. So knock that power back to about 50% if you do it that way. Or again, easy on it on the double boiler, same thing. So we're going to hope that these hold together today because these are not quite frozen yet. This is not the magic of television today, but we're gonna lightly set those in there. I'm just gonna flip him over to get the other side coated. Make sure that that is really covering our cake completely. And then when we lift that out, we'll tap it a little bit. And this will actually get all that extra off, but it'll smooth it out a little bit too. And then we'll set this over onto our cookie sheet to set up. But believe it or not, we actually want to do the final touch while it is still nice and soft. And that is to add the zebra stripes. Can't have a zebra cake without our zebra stripes. So we'll see if my chocolate will cooperate. Oh, there he comes. It's a little chilly in the studio today too. So this kind of helps to put it in a little either a Ziploc bag or in a bottle, anything that way. We're working.
And then this is just melted chocolate.
This is just melted chocolate. This could be chocolate chips. This could be chocolate candy melts. Whatever you like on there that you want to add. But just get a few of those little stripes on there. And that's kind of your final touch. Now this will take a few minutes to set up. If the cake is frozen, it will set up very quickly. So it's super fast. I'd say break a piece off of there. That filling in there is so good. It's so authentic. Some of my pieces there, I got a little bit thick on the chocolate, but I like a little bit heavier piece. But the nice part is you can crack it right off of there. It's so simple, and it's just great for the kids. You can customize it on the flavors. So start with a chocolate cake. You can add a little bit of cocoa to that filling with your marshmallow
I love the
cream,
customization of that. Those
more
are
of like the
delicious,
Christmas
Lori.
tree cakes.
Oh my goodness.
You know, Little Debbie's not super creative on her recipes, so believe it or not, this is a Christmas tree cake. This is some of your other ones that come in different shapes at the holidays. So play with those a little bit on your colors and your flavors. So good.
So good and so easy.
Exactly. Get the kids involved. They'll have a ball.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for being with us today, Lori, and these wonderful nostalgic zebra cakes.
Yes.
We'll be right back.
Providing the best medical and dental care in the region. Quality, compassionate.
Quality, compassionate, affordable care.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News 724 on this Monday morning. Live look from our camera on the Cornell Complex downtown Joplin. Got a beautiful sunrise out there, crystal clear skies. We also have some pretty cold temperatures as well. MoDOT camera 20th and range line looking back to the north, looking pretty good so far. And same from the KDOT camera on 69 just south of Pittsburgh. Clear roadways, looks great. Unfortunately, the temperatures tell a different story. Our camera 7th and range line, here comes the sun. It is 26 in Joplin, feels like 18 now with that north-northwest breeze at about 7 miles an hour. Temperatures around the region have fallen back a little, but not significantly. We're still mid-upper 20s with some low 30s down in our southern counties and across northeastern Oklahoma. Our wind chills, though, falling back low 20s and into the upper teens out there. Excuse me. I do not know what that was. Our temperatures today, though, are going to be very slow. They are going to crawl up to our highs. So only 33 by 11. So as you can see, again, not a lot of movement. We'll have sunny skies and we'll occasionally have those north winds gusting upwards of 20 miles an hour out there. So that's going to make it feel a little colder out there. Cool today. Sunny skies, a bit breezy, and we're only going to go low to mid 40s out there. So again, it's actually cooler today than it was yesterday, and yesterday wasn't particularly warm to begin with. So not feeling like spring out there at all, but some good news, begins tonight. Now tonight, yeah, it's still cold. I'll get to the good news. Clear skies for the evening, still gusty north winds, still breezy overnight, low 30s, and again, maybe some upper 20s out there. But the good news is, as we go into the overnight hours, those winds are going to shift out of the southwest. And that's going to start bringing in some warmer temperatures for us. And so I know some kids had spring break last week, and it actually felt like spring. For those getting spring break underway this week, doesn't feel like it yet until you see the extended forecast. 70 tomorrow, sunny, still breezy, but a lot warmer out there. Partly cloudy for our Wednesday, upper 60s, breezy again. Evening showers, and that's going to kick off a several-day event of some showers and maybe a thunderstorm or two, but at this point, not anticipating any strong or severe storms. And we'll have showers all the way through Monday. Now, again, depending on cloud cover, sunshine in between the showers, our temperatures are going to kind of fluctuate between the mid-50s and mid-60s out there. And we'll see some additional shower chances by next Wednesday. Next week is going to be a bit cooler, but not too far off the norm as we go into the mid-50s Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. That's Check Your Forecast. We're going to be back with more of the KOAM Morning News right after this.
NFL season kicks off March 30th on Fox.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. It's currently 7:30. I'm Elise Snowy. Yesterday was the last day of the Neosho Gun Show. According to the NRA, gun shows are widely attended by Americans interested in firearms for defensive purposes, hunting, sports, recreation, and historical significance. We spoke with one vendor at Neosho about what he and the show itself were able to offer.
Basically anything that has to do with the Second Amendment or that type of activity, outdoorsmanship, hunting, whatever, you're going to be able to find here at a gun show. Anything from knives to clothing to foods to boots we have here.
The event kicked off on Friday and ended yesterday afternoon at 3 p.m. Missouri authorities say a semi-truck driver was injured after a turkey went through his windshield, causing him to crash. It happened around 1 p.m. Wednesday on I-44 near Sarcoxie. Witnesses say the truck went into the median with a large hole in the windshield. The driver suffered moderate injuries and was taken to the hospital. Highway Patrol officials say it's a good reminder to keep an eye out for turkeys as they start to get on the move. High Power Garage in Joplin is putting on classes to teach people on how to properly maintain their cars. The class goes over different types of oil and fluid your car uses, as well as the parts of your engine you should be checking on a regular basis. Those who attended were able to interact with a certified mechanic and get more in-depth looks into the inner workings of your car.
The reason why we do this is because we've seen a real problem with kids coming up and not really knowing how to maintain the car. They get taught how to put gas in it and how to drive it, but they really don't ever get taught how to check the oil or do maintenance schedules or anything like that.
These classes happen every month and they are free of charge. Higher Power Garage does ask that you register ahead of time before attending. The U.S. is voicing concerns over civilian safety in Gaza, with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu doubling down yesterday on his vow to invade Rafah. He promises to evacuate the more than 1 million civilians there, but U.S. officials are skeptical. Getting innocent people out could be even harder than getting aid in. Meanwhile, President Joe Biden is reiterating his call for a ceasefire and ultimately a two-state solution.
We've got ourselves a pretty cold start to the day out there. Let me get this to the right spot for you, all of you at home. This is our camera on top of the Cornell Complex, downtown Joplin. Take a look at that. Clear skies. There's the sun right over that building there at 7th and Main. It looks fantastic out there. Unfortunately, the temperatures do not go along with that. MoDOT camera 20th and Rangeline also looking pretty good this morning. Out there right now, though, 26 in Joplin, 27 in Pittsburgh. We've got wind chills, low 20s and upper teens out there. with that northwest breeze at about 5 to 10 miles an hour. There we've been seeing some occasional gusts upwards to 20, and that'll be the case for us throughout the day. Temperatures mid-upper 20s for most of us and still hanging out in some low 30s across parts of northeastern Oklahoma out there. As we go through the day, again, it will remain breezy, but look at how slowly these temperatures climb. It won't be until the late afternoon hours that we actually reach our high, and even that's not going to be all that great, only around the low to mid 40s, so cooler than where we were yesterday. However, overnight tonight, the winds are going to shift out of the southwest, and as we've mentioned, you folks at home know what that means 98% of the time. Warmer temperatures are on the way. We'll take a look at those warmer temperatures and some rain chances later this week in the full forecast here in just a few more minutes. Elise?
All right, thanks, Chris. Well, yesterday, people in Joplin got into the St. Patrick's Day spirit one step at a time. KOAM's Samantha Walker has more on how the March O' the Kidney lets people be festive while supporting a good cause.
People gathered at the North Park Mall in Joplin, but they were more than just mall walkers. They came to participate in the March of the Kidney, an annual event hosted by Freeman Health System.
The March of the Kidney is an event that we do to honor the patients that have passed from kidney disease, to celebrate those who are currently on dialysis, and to raise funds and awareness about kidney disease and dialysis.
March is National Kidney Month. According to the Center of Disease Control, more than 37 million Americans suffer from a chronic kidney disease. For participants at the march, the cause hits close to home.
My mother was on a kidney patient here about 10 years ago, and a very good friend of mine, Campy Benson, just recently passed away, who was on dialysis for the last 10 years. So it's in honor of him and my mother that I'm walking today.
Emily Gilbert donated a kidney to her close friend Caleb. She says raising awareness about kidney disease is important.
These sorts of events are important because some people don't really know about kidney disease. I think a lot of people need a lot of education, and once they know about it, it's better to spread awareness and help others.
And for people like Greg Dickey, who has been on dialysis for the past 7 years, the march also offers an opportunity to meet with people going through the same thing.
And it's nice to see people that's had transplants and stuff like that. It's very interesting to talk to them.
It's cathartic in a way. It's helpful for those who maybe have people suffering or have lost to come together and to support and heal each other.
While the March of the Kidney may seem like it's just a 1-mile walk, to those who attend, it's so much more. Reporting in Joplin, Samantha Walker, KOAM News.
This was the 10th year for the March O' the Kidney event. Proceeds from the march, it says, stay in the area and go towards kidney patients to help cover their treatment cost. That's a look at our top news stories coming up this half hour on the KOAM Morning News. We'll hear from how a Wisconsin man is not letting his disability stop him from training for a marathon.
This is Scott, free and home estimate. If you want the best for less, call Windows for Less.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News. It is now 7:38 on this Monday morning. Another look at that beautiful sunrise out there. Our camera on top of the Cornell complex in downtown Joplin. Not a cloud in the sky. Looking fantastic. Great view also from the MoDOT camera, 20th and Range Line, as folks get their Monday workday underway, or at least I know in Joplin schools spring break this week. So some of these folks may be doing something for spring break. Maybe not, because the kids get the vacations. The parents don't always get that luxury, so could be a hit and miss. KDOT camera, rather, on 69 south of Pittsburgh, also looking good. There's that sunrise out there from our camera, 7th and Range Line. 26 in Joplin. It is cold, and it feels like 18, as if 26 wasn't cold enough. You got that north-northwest breeze at 7 saying, here, let me turn the temperature down a little bit more for you as you get your day started. So you're going to want that coat this morning. You're probably still going to want it this afternoon as well. Temperatures mid-upper 20s for most of us, except for northeastern Oklahoma. You guys have been the exception all morning long, hanging out in the low 30s down there. We get our morning started breezy. We'll have those occasional north wind gusts upwards of 20 miles an hour, so that will make it feel even colder as if this wasn't cold enough for us. And take a look at how slowly these temperatures climb. 33 degrees by 11 from 26 at 8. It is going to be a very slow warm-up, and it's not even really going to be a warm-up. Temperatures continue to slowly rise, and by the late afternoon, we will eventually reach our highs in the low to mid 40s out there. Sunny skies, still dealing with those gusty north winds as well. Still a bit breezy through the evening, clear skies, temperatures have no problem falling. It's 10 degrees in 4 hours that they'll fall, but it takes them several hours just to warm 10 degrees. And we're going to fall back into the low 30s, maybe some upper 20s. However, tonight, the winds are going to shift out of the southwest, and that's going to usher in some warmer temperatures, a little more seasonable temperatures out there because we're actually below average today with these highs. 70 tomorrow, still breezy, but it's a southwest wind and it is sunny. It's going to be a pretty decent day aside from that wind. Wednesday, still a bit breezy, partly cloudy, and by the evening, a few showers roll in, upper 60s, and then we've got shower chances, and these continue all the way into Monday, maybe even Tuesday and Wednesday of next week as well. Now, depending on how much sunshine you get in between the showers, our highs are going to fluctuate a little bit between the mid 50s and the mid 60s out there. So cool on some days, but still right about where we should be. Our overnight lows don't fluctuate as much. We'll see some 40s and maybe even some 30s as we head into next week. That's Check Your Forecast. We're back with Consumer Watch right after this.
It all starts with a Chevy truck. Chevy Silverado with the Turbo Max engine and
just shut the stop.
Bad boy mowers and tractors. Power, performance, attitude.
In Consumer Watch this morning, U.S. national debt continues to soar. The national debt reaches $34.5 trillion last Thursday. The future of U.S. debt is worrisome as economists raise the alarm about Congress and White House spending. The Congressional Budget Office shows the nation's debt will grow to $54 trillion in the next 10 years, a result of an aging population, healthcare costs, and higher interest rates. 4 decades ago, U.S. debt was around $900 billion. The Supreme Court is expected to hear arguments today on whether the Biden administration violated the First Amendment by pressuring social media companies to remove certain content. The case related to the Biden administration calling for some misinformation about COVID-19 and the 2020 election to be removed from sites. The Biden administration says limiting talks between government officials and social media owners could hurt its ability to address security risks and other public concern issues. Weddings are back in vogue again since the worries about the pandemic have waned. The CDC says marriage numbers have returned to pre-pandemic levels in the U.S. About 2.1 million couples got hitched in 2022. The pandemic canceled many weddings when health safety issues forced bans on large gatherings. In 2020, the number of I-dos reached about 1.7 million. That is the lowest figure since 1963. There can be as many as 5 generations in the office right now, and in some cases, workplace attitudes don't align. But there are some takeaways for older workers. Karen Kafa is in Washington with a look.
Almost every worker underwent a seismic shift to their work life within the last few years because of the COVID-19 pandemic. But without history to hold on to, Gen Z views things a little bit differently. And workplace experts say that's not necessarily a bad thing. When the House overwhelmingly passed a bill that could ban TikTok in the U.S., its first Gen Z member, Maxwell Frost of Florida, was in the spotlight for his age and his no vote.
Yes, it has to do with young people, but taking a step back, I just think it's bad policy.
Frost is 27 years old. His oldest Democratic colleagues are in their 80s. The leader of his caucus, 53. The House, a high-profile example of 5 generations in a workplace. The silent generation, boomers, Gen X, millennials, and Gen Z.
We have more generations in the workplace than ever before because people are living and working longer.
That on its own creates workplace challenges, but multi-generation work expert Lindsay Pollock says the COVID-19 pandemic's disruptions added more layers, especially for Gen Z.
They just don't have that experience of being in some of the situations that maybe older generations might take for granted.
Amid talk of their more casual approach to interviews, even to showing up on time, career strategist Julie Balke says Gen Z may have other priorities because they have so many career options.
So they are less likely to follow the edicts, the declarations of an employer, because they see work as a collaborative experience, not as a top-down, you tell me what to do, and I do it.
While that might irk coworkers, Balke says Gen Z workers are taking a firmer stance on work-life balance than older generations.
This has been generationally coming, and it's finally gotten to the point where we have a generation who said, I'm willing to take a stand.
Lindsay Pollock says that rather than rolling their eyes at younger coworkers, older generations should clarify their expectations and also value Gen Z's expertise on their own generation, whether it's business, technology, retail, any sector. Who knows what Gen Z wants better than Gen Z? In Washington, I'm Karen Kafa.
And that wraps it up for Consumer Watch this morning. Now let's take a look at the market prices before the opening bell.
I didn't have to pay anything to start. And that's one of the reasons I went ahead and went with it.
Tamron Hall, this morning at 10, right here on Fox 14.
A Wisconsin man may have lost his ability to run, but he hasn't lost his ability to race.
Now he's in need of angel runners to get him across the finish line for an upcoming marathon.
Don Cavani shows up for one of his workouts at Highland Fitness in Eau Claire.
Stretch all the way up to the top.
He's been working out for decades.
Pull, pull, pull.
But the way he does so changed in March of 2015.
They were cutting a tree down. It hung up in another tree. And when I went to check on plan B, it decided it was coming down.
He says the impact on him fractured 6 vertebrae, and as a result, paralysis.
I was okay with it. I was just happy to still be here.
The diagnosis took his ability to race in half marathons, which he started just years prior.
I was always the oldest in my bracket. I loved to run.
Or so he thought. Cavani's son convinced him to continue racing, and he did so through the help of My Team Triumph Wisconsin, an organization that helps with inclusivity in racing. And with support from the gym, Cavani started running in full marathons in recent years.
But then Kelly got a hold of me and said, hey, are you doing the race? I said, I don't think I have angels. Oh, you will.
Angel runners are part of the team that help push racers like Cavani over the finish line.
And then all the way up.
His trainer at the gym, Tim Herman, was one of them.
To get him into that environment again was huge for me, and just the community of, you know, going here and there, taking a stop. Looking back on it, those were the biggest memories that I had.
And Herman says even though it's been almost a decade since things changed for Cavani, his spirit remains the same.
A couple months after the accident happened, he was, you know, how you doing, Don? And if I heard it once, I heard it 1,000 times. Slightly less than perfect. A lot to be said with that statement right there. Slightly less than perfect.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget that.
For now, Cavani still looks to assemble his team for this year and plans to keep going in the years to come.
If I can come up with angels, I certainly will.
Well, it's great to see. I hope he gets those angels and, you know, they come and support him for sure.
Absolutely. And I'm sure that he will have no problem getting some folks to come in and help him out. And you might need a little help. It's been a minute since we've had to put on a coat, but you're going to need to put one on this morning. Let's take a quick look outside. Our camera on top of the Cornell Complex in downtown Joplin. Beautiful skies. Great sunrise earlier. The sun is shining. The skies are clear, but it is cold. Even though it looks nice out there, it is a lie. Once you open the door and step outside, you'll realize how quickly, or you'll realize very quick. Look, it's Monday, and I've only had 2 cups of coffee, but you get the point. MoDOT camera 20th and Rangeline looking good as well as folks get their day underway. We are sitting at 26. That's what I'm talking about. That right there, 26 in Joplin, 27 in Pittsburgh. And I'm telling you right now, if the folks in Northeast Oklahoma put up a couple of palm trees, they've got the perfect situation. All morning long, northeastern Oklahoma, temperatures have been in the low 30s. And they've fallen back a little bit, but not by much, and you're warmer than everyone else who's been hanging out in the mid to upper 20s today. Temperatures are going to be slow to climb, eventually to highs right around the low to mid 40s out there, and we'll have those north winds gusting upwards of about 20 miles an hour. However, things change tonight. We'll have one more look at your forecast, plus the news you need to know right after this.
Welcome to Miss Daisy's, where style meets comfort.
We are proud to salute James Logan, a four-state hero.
Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. Root Coffee House is getting into the season of spring with a spring-inspired painting class. Attendees were able to mingle with other artists while creating a new masterpiece to take home. The class included a canvas and step-by-step instructions. Well, some local four-staters had the opportunity to shop for some new jewelry at a pop-up shop in Galena. It included 3 different stations, a charm bar, clay earrings, and a stack bar. Officials say the event is a way to get a deep dive into different arts and talents. And your Power Garages in Joplin is putting on classes to teach folks about how to properly maintain their cars. The class goes over different types of oil and fluid that your car uses, as well as the parts of your engine you should be checking on a regular basis. These classes happen every month. They are free of charge, and Higher Power Garage does ask that you register ahead of time before attending.
And we've got ourselves a cool day out there. Low to mid 40s for our highs. Winds out of the north gusting occasionally to 20 miles an hour, but will be sunny. Clear skies as we head through the evening, still holding on to some of those gusty winds. Overnight, another cold one, low 30s, maybe some upper 20s, but the winds will shift out of the southwest, and that'll start to warm us up. 70 tomorrow, sunny, breezy, upper 60s Wednesday, some evening showers. We'll have shower chances all the way into next week, and again, depending on how much rain versus sun you see, temperatures will be fluctuating between the mid 50s and mid 60s. So at least after today, it'll go back to feeling like spring.
Yeah, looking forward to tomorrow for sure. Well, in Washington, D.C., cherry is making lots of merry as some annual blooms return early.
Cherry blossoms are bursting forth on the National Mall as an awaited rite of spring is underway. The National Mall Park Service posted a look of the beautiful petals on its X account.
The Park Service says now is peak bloom time as a majority of the Yoshino cherry trees along the Tidal Basin in a National Mall are open.
It looks absolutely beautiful
Gorgeous,
out there.
beautiful.
And a lot of trees around here, of course, coming into bloom, looking
Yes.
pretty fantastic.
Gorgeous as well.
Well, thank you all so much for letting us put the good in your morning. We'll be back with more news and weather today at noon.
Have a great rest of your morning.